Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I have feedback. Let me see if I can correct that. Do I still have feedback?
Yes, ma'am.
What about now? Still feedback.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How about now? Let me turn this all the way down. How is that?
Oh, that's better.
Okay. All right, Marcelo did text me, so I'm anticipating he's gonna join us soon.
Mm-hmm.
It is
This is the Alice won't be here today, right?
correct. Alice won't be here today. It is freezing in my office.
Where's your little heater at?
In my other office.
That's not helpful.
It's not. I don't want to run around carrying a heater, but so I need budget to have a heater in both offices.
Yeah.
Part of the while we're waiting on Marcelo, part of the working towards having a CPE center where I'm employed is finagling all the office politics.
Mm.
And when I apply to have a CPE center, I have to have a certain amount of physical space.
Okay.
So, oh, I'm sorry, my camera is dark. I'll get closer. So that's the other thing I have to do. I have to hold on to all the real estate I have in the hospital.
Right.
So when I get to that stage, I actually have a physical space, but it is getting dangerous. Folk keep asking me, you take one more person, can another doctor work there? And eventually I'm gonna look up and if I'm not careful, I will be in the parking lot.
Oh, wow.
Right. I don't want to be in the parking lot.
No.
I have not sent these slides to you all,
Okay.
so I'm gonna do that. Come on, Marcelo, join us. So how have you arrived?
Good. Feeling pretty good today.
Good, good.
How about you?
I am feeling good,
Good.
encouraged and feeling good.
Hey, Marcelo.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So I just shared with Lisa. I'm feeling good and Lisa's feeling good. That's how we've arrived. What about you?
Me? I'm okay.
You're okay? Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
thank you.
You're welcome.
So I connected at 9 o'clock.
I noticed.
Yeah.
I noticed. I don't see, yeah, I do see the YouTube, so we're good. Um, we know Alice, as Lisa mentioned earlier, is away today. And a still small voice is not yet available to us. So I'm instead, as I shared with you before, I'm going to do the trauma-informed didactic, and we'll have some conversation about that. And then I have one adjustment I'm going to make that it would be great for you all to tell me how much time you need. So we'll break for our self-care education and practice session. And when you come back, before we go over any logistics around the final evaluation and graduation and all of that, I want you each to present a list of the practices that you've been doing, those self-care practices. And you could do it in a Word document and then just share your screen. And then share that, send me that Word document later. And just have an opportunity for us to talk about the various things, some of the things we've been doing. Now, you may not be able to talk about all of them, but at least pick about 5. Does that feel reasonable? And
You
can you,
want that? You want that? I'm sorry. You want that today?
right, so I'm going to add some time to
Okay.
your self-care education and practice session
Okay.
in order to do that. So how
Gotcha.
much time would you need?
Uh, maybe 20 minutes, 15 minutes or so. I
Would-
mean, me, yes, probably about 15 minutes or something.
Okay, so we'll add that time when we break to the self-care education and practice session. So when we come back, we can start with that. And okay,
Mhm.
Marcelo, you okay?
Yes.
All right, so let me, oh, I have 2 open. Let me, I'm gonna
Oh,
share.
I thought you knew. I thought you knew. That's why the feedback was going on.
Oh no, I have 2 open because I'm using my phone
Okay.
so that I can record because I'm at the hospital where recording is challenging. So
Okay.
hopefully the phone will not die and we'll be all right. So I'm assuming this is the one I want to share. And Marcelo, I'm going to send this presentation to you all later, so you'll have it, but I have not sent it to you yet. So don't look for it.
Okay. Thank you.
Are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Change it around a little to make it. So this is our trauma-informed care, trauma-informed conversations as spiritual caregivers. And I start out with this slide with all these different people because what is considered traumatic is personal and it varies from individual to individual. Most of us will experience an event in our lives, if we have not already, that we would consider to be traumatic. Most of us will experience multiple traumatic events. So my first invitation to some discussion is, do you think that statement is true? What is considered traumatic is personal and varies from individual to individual. And most of us will experience an event in our lives that could be considered traumatic.
Yeah, I think it's accurate.
Okay. You want to say more?
Um, well, I know. I mean, you said you can experience multiple traumatic events in your life.
Yeah.
That's true because I have, and um, yeah, just that
Yeah.
I mean, I know it to be true because I've experienced it. So,
Got it.
and what one person might consider like, oh, that's nothing. You need to get over that. Um, I consider it traumatic, but they like, oh, just get over it, or whatever. But like you said, everybody views things differently.
Right.
You know.
Good. And that's so important. Thank you. Marcelo, did you have an opinion on that statement? Do you think it's accurate?
Yes. So I think and not in I don't remember the year, but okay, in 1985,
Mm-hmm.
I live in Mexico City. Uh, in September 19, this is a big heart what in the city. The buildings is down.
Ah,
So this I stay outside in the street in the nights, my family and me,
wow.
because the city, Mexico City, is a chaos, no light, no water. So this is experience for me because I'm child. This is traumatic for me. So in 2 days, we moved to Ciudad Juarez, Mexico. So this situation
Wow.
because I living in the 5th floor,
Yes.
but apartment is down.
Right.
Yeah, but my parents and my brothers is in safe, but they stayed in the street.
Everyone was unhoused.
Yeah,
That is very traumatic. Yes. Okay. Wow. Thank you for sharing that.
you're welcome.
And this informs us your willingness to be in tune to this and connected to this for yourself informs us as spiritual care givers. So thank you both. Okay, the next slide, if I can advance, let's see how I do. Okay, I'm gonna escape because I just lost all of you. Let me get you back. Okay. I love the
When you
full screen, but I can't see you. So I'm navigating how to see you. Please bear with me for a second. Let's see if I can't put you up here where I can just, did I lose you? There you are. Okay.
can I ask you a question?
You sure can.
When you were talking to Marcelo, you said what he said connected it to himself to inform care. Is that what you said?
Yes, the way we are able to be aware of our own trauma can
Mm-hmm.
help us as spiritual caregivers when we're serving others, just being aware and sensitive. Yes,
Okay. Thank you.
you're welcome. I'm not sure how the slide is showing up now, but can you see it?
Yeah, we
Okay.
can see it. It's good.
It's big enough? Okay. So let me see if it's going to let me advance. Hallelujah. So the next question is, how do you define trauma? And I have this huge wave because I find being around waves very traumatic. And so this image uh, evokes, just the image evokes a little fear in me. So how do you define trauma? We just said we think we know we've experienced it. How do you define it? Did I lose Marcelo?
No, he's still there.
Okay,
Okay.
I'm here. I'm here.
Okay.
Good. So for me, I was afraid and I did not eat anything.
Ah, okay.
So my mom said, "You need eat," but and I stayed scared every time by the my mother and my dad planning
Mm-hmm.
move to Ciudad Juárez, Chihuahua is 24 hours in in the bus.
Yes.
So, but with the more cheap in this time, we take to the train.
Wow.
So it's 3 days in the train.
And you did not eat.
Yeah, in the train I eat, but
Okay.
I stay in Mexico City around the 3 days.
Mm,
I don't eat any.
wow. So that's one of the things that's a sign for you.
Mhm.
Lisa, what about for you? How do you define trauma?
Uh, um, I guess the repeated images of whatever happened to you just constantly going through your mind. Um,
Okay.
which for me it caused me to be suicidal. So I had suicidal ideation. It was like a constant thing. So
Yeah.
yeah.
That's so not eating, other symptoms and side of things like suicidal ideation, all of that is very important for us to keep in mind when we're thinking about trauma. And a definition that I offer is trauma is exposure to an incident or series of events that are emotionally disturbing or life-threatening. And again, I'm going to share this slide with you, but yeah, emotionally disturbing or life-threatening. These experiences can have lasting adverse effects on an individual's functioning, like not eating, like suicidal ideation, not being able to sleep. It affects you mentally, physically, emotionally, and or your spiritual well-being. So in your understanding of this definition, what are some events that may lead to emotional trauma? So you know the events in your life. Some other events that I think lead to emotional trauma are on the news media, videos of physical harm to other people, to other human beings, or even physical harms to animals, and being shown over and over and over again. I think that's, even though it may be a national event or even an international event of a shooting, a mass shooting, or of a law enforcement, a brutality, or a fire, or an earthquake, or natural disaster, other natural disasters, or even war. I think the events themselves are traumatic, and then the repeated showing of the events on video over and over again. Can you think of any other events that may lead to an emotional trauma? Because physically, I'm not in that when I'm looking at that war, but it's an emotional trauma as I'm looking at that video, especially over and over. I still see the images of, now I have forgotten his name, but of the little boy who was among um, undocumented laborers who were being transported by boat, and they knew they were where they were going. They knew they were laborers, but the boat capsized. And there's this image of this 4-year-old boy that I just cannot get out of my mind. So yeah, any other events that you can think of that may lead to emotional trauma?
I guess when I hear in the news about a parent taking the life of a child that, or see the child and see how happy they were, and then they're gone, that
Yeah,
just causes trauma for me.
So I have a question.
sure.
Uh,
Thank you, Lisa.
thank you,
Hmm.
thank you, Lisa. Um,
Hmm.
this situation, for example, in my trauma situation,
Yes.
uh, will affect in the future.
You know, I am not a doctor, so I can't say so from a medical perspective, but I can say from my experience,
Uh-huh.
yes. And that's part of the definition of trauma, that you have long-lasting effects,
Okay.
that it's a lasting impact on you. So yes.
Okay.
And as we get a little further in our discussion, that comes up in one of the videos we're going to look at. We have a couple of short videos. So here's another question for you. How do you feel when you smell pizza? How do you feel when you smell pizza?
I'm happy.
Okay.
Uh, it reminds me of my mom because I remember she used to get those little frozen pizzas, and then she would add all the ground beef and toppings and cheese and all that stuff to it. So it reminds me of my mom.
Ah, so how does that feel, Lisa?
Like Marcelo said, it makes me feel happy.
Okay, makes you feel happy.
Uh-huh.
I agree. When I smell pizza, it makes me feel happy. And I, like you, connected to this memory of summers going swimming and having just enough change to buy a slice of pizza, one, after we had been
Hmm.
swimming. And it was the best pizza in the world as you walk down the street eating it.
Right.
So it makes me happy. It makes me smile. So that's important because that lived experience with the pizza is gone, but the feeling of just thinking about it is still with you. And it's the same way with trauma. The event may be gone, but some symptoms of the trauma will show up because the feelings are not gone. So the symptoms can be things like unpredictable, unregulated emotional or psychological responses. It can be that a person's in a constant state of tension or anxiety, and they may not even be fully aware of it. Um, Someone else can smell pizza and have the inability to concentrate or retain or recall information because they have a traumatic experience associated with their pizza. It can also be you have a positive experience, but here we're talking about trauma. So some of the other symptoms that will show up if you're having a traumatic response to something is anger, and you don't even know why you're angry, but you're angry. Fear, you're not even sure why you're feeling afraid. Sadness, shame, confusion, depression, powerlessness or helplessness, strained relationships. People tend to isolate when they're having a trauma, a symptom of trauma. They may not even be aware of it. Other challenging and annoying behaviors can emerge, whatever they may be: overeating, indulging in alcohol, or other self-medicating. We can become paranoid, very suspicious of everyone and everything. And then physical symptoms: headache, nausea, stomach ache. All of these are
Mm-hmm.
possible symptoms that may occur for someone who has experienced trauma, and the traumatic event may be gone, but they're reliving it for whatever reason. And often we say what's here in the middle of the screen: how might triggered symptoms of trauma negatively impact the quality of decision making? So I'm not in the traumatic event now. You don't have the pizza now, but both of you smiled when you thought about it. So
Mm-hmm.
something happens that reminds me of the traumatic event, and any of these symptoms may show up. So how do you think that'll impact, particularly the quality of decision making?
Mm.
Do you make good decisions when you're experiencing any of these symptoms: fear, paranoia, anger, sadness? What's your decision making quality? I'm not saying you don't make any, but do you make good ones?
Um, when I was younger, I don't think I did make, because I was talking about that with somebody else, that you don't know how to handle the emotions, and so you do all kind of stuff. You're acting out, and you're doing all kind of crazy stuff. So that's what I did. You don't have good decision making skills because you
That's
don't know
right.
how to regulate your emotions.
And you're saying when you were younger,
Hmm.
and what I'm suggesting is that if any person at any age, when they are triggered, their skills of decision making are diminished. And this is so important for us as chaplains in whatever setting we're in, is to realize that a person who is triggered is not at the best in their ability of making decisions. So we may look at this triggered person and go, why are they doing that? It's just hurting them. And we go, well, the why is they're not at their best in decision making, even though they may be, an adult.
Yeah.
Very
I
good.
can I share
Hmm.
one?
Please.
Um, I used to work at Walmart and I worked there for 20 years, but what triggered me would be, I guess, when men came in and they had their little girl sitting on their neck. And I don't know, that triggered me, and it
Wow.
caused me to be in distress.
It
Um,
caused you to be in distress. Wow.
yeah, yeah. Until, like I said, I got therapy and got a clear understanding of what was going on, but it did all the time, and I just could not function. A couple of times I even went home. So
Right.
yeah.
So that's a perfect example, though. Even though you were an adult, your decision making was impacted by the fact that you were having a trauma response to what was a
Mhm.
non-threatening situation to you, but it connected with a traumatic experience of your past. That's an
Right.
excellent example. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, and the second, I have constant state of tension or anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is my situation um in our church. Um, because I don't know in this context with Hispanic people, but I talk in meetings with the families, with the leaders in the church. We have the plan, we have the schedule. For example, I have the service 1 o'clock Sundays. So the people come to the church, but some families don't come. I call to the family, what happened with you when you don't come to the church? Oh, okay. Oh, my family is visit me, everything. Don't come. So, okay, see you next Sunday. Yeah. I attend to the next Sunday because I say to these families, we need talk early. The service is one. I wait for you 12 o'clock for teaching this class, particular class for membership or baptism or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So the uh, person say me, okay, see you next Sunday, 12 o'clock for the class. The people don't come. The
Hmm.
people don't respond. So this is a frustration for me. This is this situation. This is constant state of tension or anxiety for me.
Wow.
I ask, what is the problem? Maybe the pastor is the problem, or why don't come? So uh, there are a different situation that we cannot uh solve.
Right.
So uh, when I stay in tension and anxiety, I eat a lot.
Ah, okay.
So I eat my food, but I finish. I'm going to the freezer again. My wife said, what happened? Why you eat a lot? I don't know. Probably I have anxiety. Uh,
Okay.
yeah,
Wow. Lisa, any feedback for Marcelo? Marcelo, I know what you're saying is anxiety.
Mhm.
Anxiety. Yeah.
anxiety.
Thank you for sharing that, Lisa.
Yeah, I get the same. Yeah, we I think every pastor experiences the people don't come, and it does cause you anxiety. What did I do? Did I say something wrong? Did I, do something wrong? And you're always fearful about, what's going on. You call them, oh yeah, I'll be there next Sunday, and they don't show up. So you know, I guess we got to just look at it. It's not us, it's just it's about them and whatever's going on with them, in
Hmm.
their life. But it causes you a little stress. It does me. So I see where he's coming from.
And that's great self-awareness that you realize you eat through
Yeah,
it.
yeah. And I take to the for re, what is it to the and the night I sleep
Oh my goodness.
re,
Where you have reflux, acid reflux,
reflux. I need take to the um
Tums or something.
Tums, yeah, because
Wow.
Hmm.
Yeah, because during the day I eat. So in the night we out there.
Wow.
Mm,
That's trauma. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
Wow.
def- yeah.
Do you share this with us? PowerPoint?
Yes. No, not yet. I'm
Oh,
gonna
yeah,
do it.
I know, but the
I will. I haven't done it yet.
okay, thank you.
I'm gonna skip this one. I forgot why I had that in there. I think I was saying I know trauma is a lot of carrying a lot of baggage for all of us. I also think I may have opened up my old presentation. So my unedited, but it's okay because it has the same content. Let me do something real quick. Allow me to do this. I'm so appreciative of both of your sharing. Yeah, that's what I did. I opened up the old presentation. Let me try it again. This is the I want to try to share this video. So bear with me. I'm going to see if I can make this happen. Wow. Were you able to hear anything when I did that? Nope. Okay.
We see it, but I don't hear anything.
Okay, let's see if I can figure out how to do the audio. You hear anything now?
Mm-mm.
Did you know?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
You did?
yeah,
Okay, great.
yeah.
Yay. Okay.
Did you know? About 70% of people around the world will experience at least one traumatic event in their lifetime. Trauma is a threatening event or series of events that is emotionally or physically harmful, which may include violence, abuse, neglect, natural disasters, or losing a loved one due to a traumatic event. Trauma can be experienced directly or indirectly by a person, such as directly by working as a police officer, or indirectly, such as working as a therapist and hearing about the traumatic experiences of others. Major factors that contribute to an individual's response to trauma include culture, one's values, beliefs, and a way of seeing the world, social support system, if they have people in their lives who are truly supportive or not, and one's developmental stage or where they are in their lifespan. For example, being a teenager or an adult. Some common reactions to trauma can include feelings of fear, anxiety, humiliation, guilt, shame, or betrayal. People may ask questions such as, why me? How other people respond to a person's trauma can also impact how a person experiences their trauma. For example, some people may not feel heard or understood by others, or others may downplay the importance, severity, and seriousness of their experience. This can be very hurtful and invalidating. A person can also develop more severe signs and symptoms of a trauma-related disorder, such as post-traumatic stress disorder or acute stress disorder. Some signs of a trauma-related disorder can include frequently feeling nervous, physical symptoms like stomach upset, upsetting thoughts, hypervigilance, which is constantly feeling on edge, and if one is in danger, so one needs to be constantly on alert for threats. These symptoms can worsen with thoughts and reminders of the traumatic event. Therefore, people may try to avoid anything that reminds them of the event, but those symptoms can also be triggered for no external reason at all. Trauma in childhood can have long-lasting effects. In the CDC Kaiser ACE study, early childhood trauma showed a long-term and a negative impact on physical health and the likelihood of developing mental health and substance use disorders, and at a higher risk of suicide. This study also showed that trauma can impact future job and education performance. Some specific factors that can help with trauma recovery include social support that focuses on forming strong emotional bonds and a sense of belonging and connectedness to others, therapy and other specialized treatment services that focus on trauma-related disorders, trauma-informed organizations, for example, schools and workplaces, ensuring access to basic needs and resources, such as food, education, healthcare, and housing. If you or a loved one may be experiencing symptoms of trauma-related disorder, treatment can help. Please contact a licensed behavioral health provider or your primary care doctor to learn more about treatment options. If you're a mental or behavioral health provider seeking information on evidence.
So I want you to keep that in mind, and I'm going to show you one other film, very short film, to talk about what our brain is doing when we're experiencing trauma. And then I'd like us to just have some discussion. Let me try to find that one. Not as smooth as I had hoped, but we're getting there. So you get ready to learn about the 3 F's and then remind me later to tell you that there is a 4th one. Let's see if I can find it. Okay, here we go. Feel like I'm at a okay, let me know when you hear it.
Stay safe.
Here.
Yep.
Brain is really stressed and
Okay, great.
to help us stay safe from danger. When our brain is really stressed and thinks we're in danger, it tries to keep us safe by triggering a response called fight, flight, freeze. This is our brain's natural reaction to danger. For example, if you came across a bear and felt in danger, your smart brain will go temporarily offline and your emotional and survival brains will take charge. This is because if a bear was about to attack you, you wouldn't need to know what kind of bear it is. Your body just needs to respond quickly to keep you safe. You might try to attack the bear. That's a fight response. You might try to run away and hide from the bear. That's flight. Or you might stay perfectly still and try not to move. Hope the bear doesn't see you. That's freeze. We live in a world that's full of stress. So our brain can't always tell the difference between day-to-day stress and stress because we're in danger. Stuff like homework, fighting with friends, or public speaking still trigger our fight, flight, freeze response, even if we're not in any physical danger. Like if you're feeling stressed because of a speech you have to do at school, you might feel like yelling or screaming. That's your fight response. You might want to run off stage and hide. That's your flight response. Or you might freeze in place and not be able to get the words out. That's your freeze response. The good news is that there are lots of things we can do to help calm these big feelings down and keep the smart brain switched on.
Part of why I wanted us to look at that video was to remind us that with trauma, our brain is as if it's on autopilot. Because the brain is responding, not thinking, what they call the smart brain, but out of our emotions. So all of those behaviors that we might engage in are our brains automatically trying to respond, and we're not in control. And then in the video before that, just an example of stress and how it impacted that individual all throughout their lives. So any thoughts or comments as we think about this notion of trauma and how our brain is wired that way? Because it's really trying to help us be safe even when there's no threat. The person's just coming in Walmart, but our brain says something's going on here, right? The people are not showing up at church, but our brain responds with a level of anxiety about it. Okay. What's your thoughts? Your brain, it feels like our brain is not our friend, but it is. But it feels like it is.
Hmm. For me, I think I used to like any man that's taller than me, I used to kind of freeze up and had a lot of anxiety around that. And even when my son got older and taller than me, that caused me stress as well. And I would kind of freeze,
You would
you know.
freeze.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And now you label that as a trauma response.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
Mm.
Marcelo, what about you?
Uh, I think my reaction is I think the freeze. I stay in silence. So, but when I leave, I thinking for what is the best reaction.
Mhm.
But in the moment, I'm freeze.
You freeze.
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent self-awareness, both of you. And part of what I said in the beginning is that self-awareness is what we draw on as chaplains to serve others. Very good. So you're aware that you have a trauma response, even when you are not being threatened. So that's the key with the trauma. The body feels threatened. It's either gonna fight, flight, or freeze. And
Mm.
so that's what's happening. So we're aware of it in ourselves. It enables us to be sensitive and aware of it for others as chaplains when we begin to think about now, how are we going to support somebody who may be having a trauma response? Is this large enough?
Yes.
I mentioned to you that there's really 4 F's. So there's the flight, runaway, the fight, the freeze, or fawn. And fawn means you try to make yourself real small. You
Mm.
withdraw completely. So when the body feels threatened for whatever reason, remember in the earlier video, it said there may not even be a trigger externally that you can identify, but your body has this, your brain has this trauma response. You can't control it. It happens. And you withdraw and you try to get real small, or you freeze, as Marcelo said, or you fight, or you try to run away. And all of us can do any of these at any time. It's not set that you always respond one way. So let me go towards the end. So what's the chaplain to do? So trauma-informed care by chaplains involves understanding, recognizing, and responding to the effects of the trauma. That self-awareness that you have, you also want to bring that awareness to others. And so here's some key principles. We'll go through them and then we'll have some time for a discussion. So the first one is safety. It is so powerful when you are meeting with someone who you may suspect they're having a trauma response to the situation. They're, whether you observe them fighting or flight or freezing or fawning, when you can create a safe environment where the person feels secure, it helps. Sometimes I just say, you're safe. And I keep saying it until they hear it with their thinking part of their brain because they're not in the thinking part of their brain. So I'm trying to trigger them into thinking. And so I'll tell them you're safe. So you can ensure the space is safe, that it's private, that it's comfortable, that your language is calm, that your demeanors are non-threatening, that you don't block exits, don't stand over them. That's especially challenging in the hospital when people are, the patients are in the bed. It's hard to remember not to go stand over them, right? So all those things are important. And our communication might be something like when a person demonstrates that you're clear they're having a trauma response. And you may say things like, I'm here to support you and listen to anything you'd like to share. And you just leave it open. And then you engage in active listening the way you do. You may say, I always talk to you about being careful about nodding your head, but you might go, wow, you're acknowledging that you're listening to them. And one way is summarizing. You sort of repeat, I heard you say, and things like, I hear that you're feeling overwhelmed. That sounds really tough. And then you just stop. And they may say, no, it's not tough at all. But they are likely to say, yeah, it is. And then you just give them the space to talk. So you create safety physically, emotionally, and then in your words. That's psychological safety. It's non-judgmental presence, we talk about it. Then trustworthy and transparency. Be clear and be consistent. I always say don't overpromise. If you're going to follow up, say you'll follow up and visit them tomorrow, follow up and visit them tomorrow. And if you can't, then be sure to communicate why. I think it's also important to clarify your role. You're able to do some things and other things you're not. So you clarify, make it clear what you're able to do. I'm here to support you by listening. Oh, I can't pay any of my bills. So Marcelo doesn't want to say, oh, I'll pay all your bills. Come to the church at 12. You want to clarify your role. No, come to the church
Yeah,
at 12. I'm running a class on financial management.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Got
So
it?
I would like that when you say I am here to support you.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's so important.
yeah.
Peer support. Sometimes we forget to connect people with other people who have similar experiences, and not just another wounded person, but support groups, mentors, people who are trained. That expression, misery loves company, is true, but you don't want to connect people with other miserable people who have no skills to get out of it, right? So think about support groups. There's a support group for just about everything. And you can connect people with it and make sure it's reputable yourself. So make sure it's a reputable organization. And then sometimes facilitating support groups can be helpful. I always have had in my church a grief support group because we're having funerals pretty regularly, right? We have at least one funeral a month. I'm going to follow up with that family, but there was so much that I, as the pastor, can do. And so we have a support group and they can go to that grief support group all year long. I have nothing to do with it. And they get to talk about how they're dealing and coping with losing their loved ones. And they're with other people. It's facilitated by a chaplain. And they're with other people who are at different stages of their grief process. And so it's another way to get support for someone who's in trauma. And then collaboration and mutuality. You all do this already. You value the input of others, and you foster partnerships and relationships. You don't try to do everything yourself. So you collaborate, but not just with outside people for someone, but collaborate with the person. So as a chaplain, you might ask for their input on what helps them. And one way I'm constantly offering this is you say, I'm going to pray for you. Another way of collaborating with them is to say, what would you like me to pray for? Right? And then before the prayer starts, would you like to start the prayer? Or would you like to pray? Sort of collaborate. Or what do you find helpful? and they may tell you what they find helpful. So don't forget to collaborate with the person who's in trauma. It's very important because it helps bring them out of the full emotional state and they begin to think and begin to think about resources. And it's powerful when people then begin to think about praying for themselves, by themselves, or with others without you, their primary spiritual caregiver, right? In the case of the two of you, without their pastor. You don't want people to think they can't pray without you, right? So you collaborate with them. Um, that's a part of empowerment and voice and choice. So empower individuals by giving them control over their care and encouraging them to express their needs and their preferences. Empower them, give them choices. It's critical because it allows them to participate in their ongoing healing, their ongoing journey of recovery. And then the last one, in terms of cultural, historical, and gender issues, one of the things that chaplains want to keep in mind is to respect the diverse backgrounds and experiences of individuals. You may have been through the exact same thing they went through, and as we said earlier, but it wasn't a traumatic event for you, but you're aware that it is for them. And as much as possible, be culturally sensitive and adapt your approach as you can. So an example for me is I come out of a cultural background where when I grew up, women did not cut their hair. And I've always had very long hair past my shoulder length, past my shoulders. And I decided after a very traumatic event, namely when I finished seminary, and some other things were going on, I decided to cut my hair. It was a bold thing for me to do out of my cultural context. And so it was traumatic for me when I was sitting in the salon and all my hair was on the floor and I had a traumatic response. I leaped to the floor and I was collecting my hair and they were looking at me like, girl, I'm gonna sweep it up later and throw it out. Like, what is your problem? Because they didn't realize I was having a traumatic response out of my cultural context where cutting your hair is a no-no for a woman. And so we want to be sensitive to that. It was not a big deal for them, but it was for me. So we want to be sensitive to what an individual may be experiencing. So I think I've covered everything and I want us to have an opportunity to talk. So acknowledge the others' reactions and behaviors. This is a real important one. Know that you are the chaplain, are connecting with that person and you're connecting with how they feel. And don't try to jump in and immediately give them things to do. Allow them to share with you how they're feeling. You know, as Alice always reminds it, don't go to the fix it lane. That's why it's important to be able to identify a range of emotional responses. That's why we have that feeling wheel. It helps us be truly empathic with people or empathetic with people because we realize there's a range of emotions going on here. And then this slide, when you receive it, it's just a summary. Presume every person may have been exposed to trauma. Acknowledge that reactions, behaviors may be related to past trauma, have nothing to do with you, but it may be related to their trauma. Ask how people feel about their situation instead of jumping in to fix it. How do you feel about what's going on? Remember, trauma survivors may have difficulty making decisions and following plans. So yes, that's what the schedule says, be at the church at noon, at 3, at whatever. But trauma survivors may have difficulty making that decision and they're not even aware of it. Learn to recognize and identify a wide range of emotional responses in ourselves and to others. So the emotional response of eating, the emotional response of a taller person comes around withdrawing, the emotional response of getting silent, not talking. Those are your emotional responses. As you become aware of them in you, it also helps you become aware of them in others. Avoid engaging in negotiations with families and patients when they are angry. So you all have experienced the church meeting where everybody's angry and you still trying to negotiate. Might be time to just take a break. Same thing with patients. When people are angry, it's very difficult to negotiate with them. Why? they're not at their best decision making in that moment of anger. Instead of asking the patient or the spiritual caregiver what they want, ask them what they think. And the why behind that is when you've been talking with someone for a while, you're coming alongside them dealing with their trauma. If you ask them what they think, you're inviting them out of the emotional response into their thinking brain. And so they have to shift a little, and that might help them get through their trauma if they are invited to think. What do you think right now? What's going on? And then always stop and assess for your own personal bias. Let me check in. I'm irritated by this person. For me, a big check-in is I check in on my body. Am I shaking my leg? That's a check-in for me because it means I'm getting anxious. So now, is the person also getting anxious? Is it just me? I got to check in. What's up? And do some things to ground myself, and we can talk about it. What have you experienced is the key thing for us to keep in mind as chaplains when we're supporting someone, as opposed to what is wrong with you. So we may be experiencing someone who's acting out in some sort of way, and it's not so much what's wrong with you, it's what's happened to you. So a tall person comes along and you suddenly need to take off work. What's happened to you? No, what have you experienced? And then maybe the person is able to go, oh, around tall people, this is what I've experienced happening. And so it begins to invite the person to reflect if they can. Sometimes they can't because the trauma response is so intense. And so take home, ask open-ended questions. Don't offer advice. That's in the more on your pastoral lane when you begin to offer advice. Ask, what does this mean to you? So you get a clear understanding of what's going on and what it means to them. Brother so-and-so is doing X, Y, Z. Well, what does that mean to you? You might have a clear understanding what it means to you, but what does it mean to them? What does this experience mean to them? What does this diagnosis mean to you? Right? Okay, so we're often in that situation where someone's learned about a diagnosis and they need some spiritual care support. Before you think about rituals or prayer, you want to know what it means to them. A cancer diagnosis doesn't mean the same thing to everyone, not just because cancer is different for everyone, but it just doesn't mean the same thing to everyone. So I want to know, what does that mean to you? And don't assume it means to them what it means to you. Okay, so I'm going to stop, and that's a lot of information. What's your thoughts? What's coming up for you right now as we're talking about this trauma and communication? And Marcelo, I did invite Lisa to share a scenario that she's been through as well.
Oh, you want me to share that now?
You sure can. Yeah,
You want me to read it or just talk about it or?
whichever you prefer.
Okay. I'll just talk about it. A 55-year-old female found out she was adopted at 55. She didn't know she was adopted, and her husband knew because the mother had told the husband, trying to get him to tell her, but he wouldn't do it. And when she found out, she found it very devastating, um, because she couldn't trust anybody, and also because she had breast cancer, and her mom should have told her then that she was adopted, because she ended up having two sisters who actually had breast cancer and died. And if she had known that information, she felt like it would have helped her. And she didn't get to know her sisters either because she didn't know they were her sisters. She thought they were her cousins.
Mhm.
Um, so she just fell apart, and I honestly thought, I didn't know she would just kill herself or what, because she was just really out of control with it and couldn't just gather herself or emotions or anything. And she constantly talked about it all the time. And then at one point she was able to let me recommend a therapist. And then when she did go to a therapist, she had to go for like twice a week, and she would she said she had to quit going to work all the time. She would not go to work. She would, you know, she just couldn't, I don't know, she just couldn't function.
Right.
And eventually she just took a leave of absence. it just affected her so greatly. A lot of people told her she needed to get over it. Wasn't that big of a deal, but Lord, it crushed her. Um, but I think, and she was estranged from her family after that, even though um her I think she was really close to her father, and she just couldn't even deal with the whole family, so she just disconnected from them. And so I don't know. It was just really hard for her to
Mm-hmm.
do to deal with, finding out she was adopted and who her mother was, who, she was like a drug addict and all that stuff. So, eventually when we were talking at one point, she did say, my life was much better off being with my adopted parents than my birth mother. So she did come to that, but it's still kind of difficult for her.
Would you label her as having a traumatic response to this
Yep.
event? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely a traumatic response. Yeah. Um,
So for her, it was trauma being
it
adopted,
was.
but it isn't for everybody. Right.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
I think it hurt the most because she found out if her mom had told her when she got cancer, then she could have, because the doctor said anybody in your family have cancer, and she said no, I'm the only one, but her sisters had cancer too, and
Mm,
you know what I mean. So that was really hard on her too, to
right.
lose two sisters, and you know, so but yeah, I don't know if you want me to share anything else besides that.
Yeah. So what do you think? Share with us your trauma-informed responses to her.
Um, mostly I would just listen. I mean, I mean, I told her it was a tough situation, and I'm sorry that she had to go through it. Um, and she felt like she was going through it by herself. And, I just told her, I'm sorry that you're going through that and you're alone in it. But, I can support you the best way I can by being present. But, I told her I'm not a therapist, but I can recommend somebody. She wasn't ready for that, of course, but I said, we can talk as much as you want, and we did. We talked a ton, Um, and I also, I said, hey, I told her I hadn't been through anything like that personally myself. So I didn't know how it felt. You know what I mean? But
Mm-hmm.
I know that, but I told her I felt her pain because it was deep. I mean, she had deep anguish, and I felt that. And I told her I felt it. And
Right.
so that's, just being present, showing up and listening, you know, um, yeah, just being present, and showing up for her. I don't, and being empathetic,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess eventually asking some developmental questions about even because that's what said that, when I asked her what was one good thing about it, and that's when she told me that at least she had her adopted parents treated her very well. She had a good life, and she wouldn't have had that with her mother, you know,
Mm.
and I can't remember something about her birth father as well. We discussed that, but um I think she did eventually get to know him as well.
Mm. Wow. Thank you for sharing that. So you said I just listened, and I appreciate that. Okay. Um,
Thank you, Lisa.
can you see this slide?
Uh-huh.
So this is the trauma-informed communication that we just talked about.
Okay.
And
Hmm.
you created safety. You were a safe place for her to talk. You assured her that you could talk and support her. You created trustworthiness and transparency. You clarify what you could do and what you couldn't do.
Hmm.
Um, you pointed her not so much to peer support, but to professional support, which is
Hmm.
the same thing. You pointed her to, hey, get to a therapist. You kept encouraging her and encouraging her. In your conversations with her, you collaborated with her. I'm here to talk. What do you need? Right? When you ask that question, and then when you ask, is there anything that is beneficial that has come out of that? That's part of your spiritual care to her, to begin to have her be thinking about, well, what do you really think about? What has you shifted her to the thinking mode from her emotional place so that she shifted to a place of gratitude. So there's the spiritual care that you provided to get her thinking. That's powerful. And you did it after a lot of listening, not right away. You normalized her feelings. You acknowledged it. When others dismissed it, oh, you ought to just get over it. Instead, you came alongside her and supported her. You empowered her. I'm sure your voice was calm as you listened and you were affirming and attentive to some of the cultural issues, and particularly in her case, it's also gender because it was breast cancer. But the reality that not having that information had an impact on her health because that was important information that she didn't have. And I know some families already don't share that. In her case, she didn't even have an option. So that's
Right.
a big thing that you enabled. So I'm identifying all of this as trauma-informed communication. Can you think of any additional ways in which trauma was informing your communication with her?
Mm.
That's very good.
I guess when she had the separation from her mom, and I had at one point had that separation from my mom, I kind of connected with her on that, you know.
Very good.
And I wasn't like, you know, you need to go talk to your mom. None of that because I understood. I'm like, you know, you take your time, you deal with it. You have, you know, it's not something you need to rush into. You have to you know, you have to get yourself together emotionally and whenever the time is right for you, you know, you can reconnect if that's what you want to do. But I understood with her. You know, I told her, I'm with you. I support you, you know.
Yeah. And that's an example of how your lived experience informed the way you cared for her. So
Okay.
because you were able to draw on that wisdom of your experience. Very good. And that can translate into all other kinds of situations. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
All of that is trauma informed communication.
Okay. Okay. Now I
And
understand. Okay.
yeah. Marcelo?
Yes. Thank you, Lisa. I'm sorry
Mm.
for this situation, but I have a question for Donna. Who can we help in this situation when it is your family?
Oh,
You know, because
yeah.
um, it's inside to the family situation. Uh, I for me it's complicated avoiding this step because uh, I don't know, it's very complicated to uh, because for example I am the father or the uh, my mother-in-law or so I know neutral, you know.
Mhm.
So it's what is your recommendation about?
Wow, that is very complicated. I appreciate you directing the question to me, and I'm happy to share, but you know what I'm getting ready to do. Lisa, you have any thoughts about that?
Can you repeat the question? I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Okay. The question is, who can we help in this situation when it is your family? Because I am chaplain. I confront this situation with my whole family. Yeah.
The same situation as adoption, you are
No,
you
no,
talking
no,
about?
no, 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 no. The situation I avoided this situation, but it's my family the problem.
So whatever the trauma is, it's the family
Oh,
The family. Yeah,
your
yeah, yeah.
that
No,
you're
no,
dealing
no.
with.
Yes, yes,
And it's your family.
yes. So, uh, we need call to the other chaplain, other consult to no, not me, because it's complicated to me avoiding this situation with my family.
Right.
So he doesn't want his family to come to him.
Uh-oh, I lost you in audio. A little louder, Lisa. It may be me.
Can you
I
hear me
can hear
now?
you great.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. So he's saying that his family has trauma, but they want to come to him, but he
Mm,
want to recommend somebody else.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Gotcha.
my question is, what is the best option to contact other person for help us, or I confront this situation?
Woo.
That's what I say. Woo. That's tough.
It is tough. Not, I mean, do you have the capacity to confront it, you know?
That's a great question.
You know, I think it's all about whether you can do it. You know, if it's something that you can do, you know, emotionally, is this something that you can do um to be able to separate it? Because you got to separate whatever. If not, then recommend somebody else, but they're
Mhm.
not gonna always want somebody else because I've been through it too. They're gonna want you.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Okay.
that's tough. I'm sorry. That's really a tough one.
I love that scripture, physician, heal thyself.
Yeah.
It didn't say heal my family.
Yeah, yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I think it's very tough, just like you said, Lisa, and I tend to lean towards referring, inviting someone else. That
Mm-hmm.
I'll listen non-judgmentally, and then I will say, you know what, we need help, and we need to collaborate with someone else.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah. I've had conflict with a member. We were both triggered. She was triggered by experiences with her mother. She
Mhm.
was projecting them on me. I was triggered by the way she was treating me. Didn't understand. She's really projecting her issues with her mother onto me. So I called another local pastor who was a CPE trained pastor and was intentional about that. And I said, we need help. Um, and we went and met with that pastor. And in the course of those conversations with that pastor, and we just had one in the course of that conversation, what came up was she realized with the help of that chaplain, she was projecting onto me. And I realized I was reacting to her trauma, not her behavior, not her feelings.
Mhm.
And so I thought, oh, wow, yeah, she's acting this way, and I'm reacting to what she's doing,
Mm.
not her feelings, right? And she's reacting to me like I was her mother who had harmed her. So I needed a third person. That wasn't my family, it was a church family, but I was clear I can't fix this. I'm in this.
Mm.
And so, or fix is the wrong word, but I can't be the support for this. I'm in it. I need support. So let me collaborate with someone else. So
Mhm.
so both Lisa and I are saying, wow, this is difficult. And that's our thoughts. What are your thoughts, Marcella?
Wait. Uh, I think uh, the I maintain upside to the these solutions. So I'm prefer to invite or connect with other uh, chaplain or counselor or pastor because is I think it's better perspective to solutions. I it's my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I try to visit for me for my emotional.
Yes.
I'm visit to uh
Psychologist?
psychology. Yeah. So and the family is a psychology, but I'm going to the upside to the psychology because I I open my heart, my mind with the professionals. The family is professional, but I prefer to the other upside to the my context.
Am I hearing you correctly? So you're saying there's a professional psychologist in the family, but
Yes,
you are preferring to go to a professional psychologist who's not a part of the family.
yes, yes. The
Mm-hmm.
for
Because you open up your heart.
yeah, yeah. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's healthy for the, I think for me or for the family.
Mm.
Yes, yes. I agree.
Yeah.
Lisa, what do you think? I agree, Marcel.
Definitely. Definitely. Yes. That's the way to go. Mm-hmm.
If there's a member of your family who's a pastor, would you go?
Uh,
Like your brother's a pastor,
yeah,
your wife's a pastor.
yeah. So, but we take important decision for the family decision, but I maintain in the middle my opinion. I think this no more important for it's the old decision, not the pastoral
The
decision.
pastor.
No, yeah, mhm,
So
yeah,
you show up to the family as family and decision making, not as I'm the pastor.
yes.
Very good.
Yeah.
That can be tricky.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or when the members to the church come with me at the office for take decision. Uh, the family say, "Oh, what do you think, Pastor?" No, it's your decision.
Right.
I recommend this point, but the last decision is yours.
So you share what you think, but
Mhm,
you tell them the decision's up to them.
exactly.
Wow. That's very good, Marcelo.
Mm-hmm.
How is that different from a chaplain?
Uh, but I don't share my personal opinion in the chaplain.
Hmm. Well, you're no help.
No, no, no,
What are you doing then?
not too much. Because this is the short visit.
If it was a longer visit, would you be sharing your personal opinion
Um,
as a chaplain?
mm, I don't share my
You
personal
don't? Okay.
opinion.
Lisa, where are you? Talk to us. What's coming
Me?
up for you on that? Mm-hmm.
Um, I think I have, but I probably shouldn't have. But I have in certain situations that I'm not you know what I mean, I'm not at a hospital or anything, but you know the people that I do see, I've asked you know asked them, could I share, this is your time, you know, you don't have to let me, but I want to share something if you want me to, you know, something like that. But
Powerful.
you know, and they can say yes or no, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, and it's gone both ways, you know. um but mostly it's just, yeah, you can share, I really want some information, you know, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I've done that. So I don't know if I necessarily would do that in a hospital setting or not, because it's
Right.
kind of a different situation, you know.
I think that's part of the opportunity for both of you doing your training in the context of the church. And it's really kind of points to what we talked about some time ago when you were saying, can I have an ID? Right?
Hmm.
So I can signal to the person and remind myself in this interaction, I'm in chaplain lane.
Right.
And I agree with Marcelo. I would not say I never ever
Hmm.
share my personal opinion as a chaplain. I'm sure I did in the beginning,
Hmm.
but that's not my desired skill to offer. My
Right.
desire is to simply come alongside them. And
Hmm.
so when they ask me, I'm asking them, well, what do you think about this? Well, I heard you say this. Do you want to say more about that? And I invite them, and it might feel like a game, like I'm kind of playing cat and mouse with them or something, but I'm not. I am wanting to create space for them to fully express what they're thinking, what they're feeling. And my advice takes up time. And so
Yeah.
I don't want to give advice. I want to come alongside and encourage them to share what they're thinking, what they're feeling. And like you said, Marcella, figure it's their decision. Now, as a pastor, it's a similar skill, but there may be a point more likely where I might share, this is my opinion, but not as a chaplain. I'm really pushing hard.
Right. And I'm trying to lean away from doing that even as the pastor, because um eventually when I do get in a chaplaincy role, you know, I don't want to confuse what I'm doing, you know. So
Mhm.
I'm trying to lean away from that
Right.
as well.
I think that is so healthy, Lisa, because in all honesty, to both of you, in my, what am I at now? My 27 years of being a pastor,
Mhm.
there's never been an occasion where I have shared my personal opinion and the situation was made better by it.
Right.
So I
Hmm.
learned, you know what? I didn't have to even share what I didn't have to. I really could give them pastoral care and not
Hmm.
even share my personal opinion. And the difference became I would share with them the perspective of our faith.
Hmm.
I never do that as a chaplain. Well, as a born again Christian from New Jersey in the Methodist Church, right? I'm pastoring people in the Methodist Church who also identify as born again. So I could share this is what our faith teaches.
Right.
This is what our tradition teaches. This is what our doctrine teaches. This is what the Bible suggests. This is what I think. But as a chaplain, I'm not doing a faith. I'm I'm inviting them to share theirs and giving them
Right.
feedback, right? So,
Hmm.
in all honesty, when I have, even as a pastor, I'm thinking they didn't need that 2 cents. It didn't hurt, but they didn't need it. They needed the pastoral role. So
Right.
you're absolutely right, because it's pastoral care that we're learning.
Hmm.
And so I think you're already encourage your confidence in your ability to know the different lane. And the same thing for you, Marcella. The fact that you even asked the question is reflective of you realize you're in two different lanes. Yeah, as a chaplain in a hospital, in a prison, in the community, wherever it might be. Very good. Very good. So is any more thoughts about the difference in those roles?
Um, yeah, well, yeah, I guess, like you, like if somebody come to I visit them or whatever, and they have the
Mhm,
same trauma that I have,
mhm.
that's challenging. That's very much challenging. It's triggering, and how to maintain not crossing the boundaries in that situation.
Very good. So what do you do?
Um, for the situation that happened, I was able to just be able to be connected to the person, because when they told me about what they wanted to talk about, I was like, this has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with your past. You're in a good position. Don't, So I have to talk to myself and tell myself it has nothing to do with you. This has
Mhm.
absolutely nothing to do with you. So I have to talk to myself and remind myself that this is their journey, and they have to go through it the way they need to go through it. It has nothing to do with me. So um I'm not saying that necessarily always works for me, but it did work this time, you know, for the situation that it was.
For the situation. Thank you for
Mm.
sharing that. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
the term for that is you remain grounded,
Okay.
as you kept
Remain.
talking to yourself.
Hmm.
You were attending to the potential for countertransference,
Right,
and
definitely.
you kept telling yourself, no, you know, one of my lines when I'm triggered is also one of the lines I speak, but it's when I say to myself, you're safe.
Okay. Yeah.
So, and to share in a very transparent way for me, I'm aware that one of my triggers, one of the things that will send me into a trauma response is the smell of certain powders, body powders.
Mm-hmm.
So if I smell that, you know how you smell baby powder and you can recognize wherever you are? Well, there's a body powder that if I smell that body powder, I'm afraid. Well, then it's a trauma response.
Mm-hmm.
So I tell myself, you're safe. You're
Mm-hmm.
safe. You're smelling that powder, but you're safe. And it's usually enough to, but if it becomes overwhelming, it's time for a referral. It's time for me to say, you know what? I need to get some support from another chaplain. It's not you, it's me. Some things are coming up for me. Give me a few moments. I'm going to have another chaplain come and be with you. Why? Why? Well, because I'm having some emotions that are coming up for me that won't be helpful. And I'll get another chaplain.
Right.
Right. So it's great you were able to talk yourself through and stay there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Just like at Walmart. You were like, oh, wow, I gotta go.
Mm-hmm.
And you said sometimes you left.
I would. I would leave. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this trauma stuff is our brain responding because it feels threatened. And there's those at least four, you might read some things that say five, but there's at least four: fight, flight, freeze, fawn. And when we can recognize it in ourselves, it also helps us recognize it in others and reminds us to connect with them, not their behavior.
Right. When you said fawn, it kind of threw me back to the time when I was in first grade, I guess. And I used to hide up under my coat on the playground, and nobody could, you know what I mean? I don't know, but that's what I used to do. I was like, nobody can see me, nobody can, bother me. But
You
Yeah,
were
that was
making
kind of
yourself
weird.
real small. Wow,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah,
that's a good connection. Yeah, good
yeah.
connection. This is not an easy topic, and just talking about it brings up things for us. So um, I'm glad for our already in our schedule self-care education and practice session.
Mhm.
And the timing is allows us to have more time today. And I want you to take care of yourself. So I want you to observe what's happening. Pay attention to your breathing. Gee, do I need to take a deep breath? I would invite you to do that. Take a deep breath, inhale and exhale. When we come off the screen, go off the screen. Don't go get on another screen, Marcelo. Turn the screen off for a second and be still. You shared some traumatic events from your past, and your body remembered that. So your shoulders might be tense. You might all of a sudden feel like you're hungry, right? There may be also take care of yourself. Take a moment to take care of yourself. Okay. In addition to doing your regular, whatever your particular spiritual practices are during your break, I want you to be especially attentive. Just, just the conversation can be, as we say, triggering. Okay. Meaning evoking a reaction in our body. Great questions, great discussion. So we will pause and I will see you. It's 11:28 here. Let's just say 11:30. So come back at 12:30. That gives you time for your structured break and to create your list and a little extra self-care time because of the content of our conversation. So 12:30 our time, 3:30 your time, Lisa,
Okay,
right?
thank you. Mhm,
Okay. I will see you back here. Thank you.
Thank you.
mhm.
Matter of fact, I'm going to have us log back in. So I'm going to text everybody.